Hello, my dear students. Have you ever wondered how you sense, think, move, or even react in a split second when someone calls your name? Just like a superfast communication network in a city, your body has the nervous system, the control and coordination system that keeps everything running smoothly. In this class, we will learn how the brain, spinal cord, and nerves work together to receive information, process it, and send messages that help you move, feel, and stay safe. Let's explore how your body's own electric wiring keeps you active and aware. This is the syllabus of the nervous system. It includes structure of neuron, central, autonomous, and peripheral nervous system, in brief, brain and spinal cord, reflex action, and how it differs from voluntary action. These are the scope of syllabus. Now we have to know what is the need of the nervous system. It explains the major functions of the nervous system in a clear, such as keeps us informed about the outside world through sense organ, enables memory, thinking, and reasoning, controls and harmonizes voluntary muscular activities like running or holding a book, regulates involuntary activities such as breathing and heartbeat. Neuron or nerve cells, the unit of the nervous system. It introduces neurons as the structural and functional units of the nervous system, forming the brain, spinal cord, and nerves. Action structure and description. Basically, the action is described as a long process that extends from the cell body with size ranging from a few millimeters to over a meter in length. It is typically covered a myelin sheath or medullary sheath, a white insulating layer which itself is covered externally by the neurolemma, that is called as neurolemma. The myelin sheath is interrupted by gaps known as nodes of Ranvier. Some axons have side branches called collaterals. The ends of axons have swollen terminal ends called bulbs which store neurotransmitter chemicals. These are the bulbs. Axon terminals are placed near dendrites of another neuron separated by the synaptic clefts. Some basic terms in nervous biology. Stimulus, any change in the environment affecting an organism. Response, the organism's reaction to a stimuli. Impulse, electrical disturbance across the nerve cell. Receptors, specialized cells that initiate impulses in response to stimuli. Effectors, these are the muscles or glands reacting to nerve impulse. So this is the speed of electricity and speed of nerve impulse. Electricity travels about 1,50,000 kilometer per second, but nerve impulse move at 100 meters per second only. The resting or polarized state, the action exterior is positively charged due to sodium plus by Na plus ions. When a stimulus acts, the membrane at the point becomes more permeable. Na plus enter ions enter, leading to the loss of polarization and depolarization and excited region. This depolarization stimulates the adjacent region and propagating the nerve impulse. Synapse, the word synapse is the point of contact between the action terminal of one neuron and the dendrite of another, separated by a fine gap. The nerve impulse jumps across the synapse chemically. When the impulse reaches the action terminal, it triggers the release of acetylcholine or a neurotransmitter. The chemical sets off a new impulse in the next neuron's dendrites. Enzymes then break down the acetylcholine to reset the response. Three types of neurons: sensory neuron, motor neuron, and association neuron. A sensory neuron carries impulse from receptors or sense organ to the central nervous system, that is brain or spinal cord. Motor neuron carries impulses from CNS to effectors, just like muscles or glands. Association neuron, this is found in the brain and spinal cord, connecting sensory and motor neurons to coordinate responses. This is a nerve formed of bundle of axons, and these are three types of neuron: sensory neuron, interneuron, and motor neuron. So nerves are basically described as the thread-like white structures that emerge from the brain and spinal cord, branching throughout the body. A nerve is compared to an underground electric cable containing multiple conducting wires or axons, which insulated by a myelin sheath to prevent mixing. Three kinds of nerves are as follows. Sensory nerves, these contain only sensory fibers. They carry impulses from receptors to brain or spinal cord. It examples optic nerve, such as it senses the impulse from eye to brain. Motor nerves, it contain only motor fibers, carry impulses from the brain or spinal cord to effector organs such as muscles or glands to produce responses. Mixed nerve, they contain both sensory and motor fibers. Example is spinal nerve. Ganglia or ganglion, these are the aggregates of cell bodies of nerve cells from which the nerve fibers may arise or enter. Two major divisions of the nervous system. Central nervous system includes the brain and spinal cord within the vertebral column. Peripheral nervous system includes the nerves that emerge from and enter into the brain and spinal cord. PNS can be subdivided into somatic nervous system or SNS that convey information to skeletal or voluntary muscles, and autonomic nervous system or ANS comprises chains of ganglia and nerves controlling involuntary actions of internal organs such as the heart, glands, and smooth muscles. The brain. This is the control center of the nervous system. Key points: the human brain is proportionally the largest among all animals relative to body size. The brain is delicate and well protected inside the brain box or cranium of the skull. The adult human brain weighs about 1.35 kg, constituting roughly 2% of body weight. It is 80% water and consumes more than 25% of the total oxygen intake. Covering or meninges, the brain is basically protected by three membranous covering called meninges, which also extend around the spinal cord. Meningitis is the inflammation of the meninges. Meninges basically composed of three layers. Dura mater is the outermost tough fibrous membrane. Arachnoid matter is the thin delicate middle layer forming a web-like cushion, and pia matter is the innermost layer, highly vascular and rich in blood supply. Cerebrospinal fluid, the space between meninges is filled with CSF, which cushions the brain and spinal cord from shocks. The same fluid also fills the ventricles, such as central spaces within the brain and spinal cord. Parts of the brain, the three main parts of the brain are following. This is the cerebrum, this is cerebellum, and this is medulla oblongata. Cerebrum is the largest portion of the brain, divided into cerebral hemisphere, right and left. The term cerebrum is derived from the Latin word for brain. Each cerebral hemisphere is hollow internally, with outer region is called as cortex and the inner region is the medulla. Cortex or the grey matter contains cell bodies of neurons, appears greyish in color. It can be folded into regions called gyri and groups called sulci to increase surface area for more nerve cells. Grey matter, the outer layer responsible for higher brain functions. White matter is the inner region containing actions or nerve fibers. Corpus callosum is the hard body, a sheet of fibers connecting the two hemispheres, enabling communication between them. This is the structure of the brain and the level diagram of the human brain. Functions of the cerebrum include the most developed part of the brain, so it controls intelligence, reasoning, memory, imagination, planning, and involuntary actions. It is described as the seat of intelligence, consciousness, and willpower. The subconscious or unconscious mind also resides in the cerebrum. It stores past experiences and suppressed memories. It dreams or hypnosis, such experiences may resurface. Cerebellum, that is the little brain, lies at the base and beneath the cerebrum, much smaller than the cerebrum but has numerous furrows. The outer layer is grey matter, while the inner part white matter appears branched like a tree called the arbor vitae, Latin as tree of life. Functions of the cerebellum: main role, it maintains balance and posture of the body, coordinates voluntary muscular movements smoothly. Examples: when you stand up, impulses for these actions originate in the cerebrum but accordingly coordinated with the help of cerebellum. Cerebellum and medulla oblongata, we know walking involves coordinated action of many muscles, which is the responsibility of the cerebellum. The cerebellum ensures the proper timing and relaxation of muscle contractions, and lack of coordination leads to clumsy movement. An alcoholic person when drunk generally walks clumsily. The cerebellum, due to effect of alcohol, is unable to coordinate muscular movements properly. Medulla oblongata, located at the base of the skull, forming the lowest part of the brain. It is triangular in shape and continues into spinal cord. Function: it controls involuntary activities such as peristaltic movement of the alimentary canal, breathing, heartbeat, etc. Injury to the medulla oblongata can cause death, hence it controls vital body functions. Forebrain, The brain is basically three parts: forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain. Forebrain can be divided into cerebrum and diencephalon, cerebrum, also called as cerebral hemisphere. It is the seat of intelligence, memory, consciousness, and willpower. It controls voluntary action. Diencephalon contains thalamus and hypothalamus. Thalamus relay pain and pressure impulses to the cerebrum, and hypothalamus controls body temperature and pituitary gland activity. Midbrain is a small tubular part of the brain, control reflexes related to the eyes and ears. Hindbrain is composed of three parts, that is cerebrum coordinates muscular activity and maintains body balance. Pons located above the medulla connects cerebral hemisphere and coordinates muscular movements on both sides of the body. Medulla oblongata controls vital involuntary activities such as heartbeat and breathing. The spinal cord, which extends from the medulla oblongata down through the vertebral column to the second lumbar vertebra, the internal structure grows an inverted arrangement of grey and white matter compared to the brain. Grey matter inside and white matter outside. It contains motor neuron for movement and association neuron for coordination. The central canal runs through it and is filled with cerebrospinal fluid or CSF, which acts as a shock absorber and aids in exchange of nutrients and gases. Externally, it is covered by three meninges: dura mater, arachnoid, and pia mater, same as brain covering. Functions of the spinal cord: three major functions are listed, such as reflexes below the neck, conducts sensory impulses from the skin and muscles to the brain, conduct motor responses from the brain to trunk and limb muscles. Peripheral nervous system: the division of the PNS into two major types: somatic nervous system and autonomic nervous system. Somatic nervous system consists of cranial nerves and spinal nerves. Cranial nerves emerge from the brain, and there are 12 pairs of cranial nerves. The types include sensory nerves, motor nerves, and mixed nerves. Spinal nerves, they emerge from the spinal cord. There are 31 pairs of spinal nerves distributed as 8 pairs in the neck or cervical region, 12 pairs in the thoracic region, and 5 pairs in the lumbar region, 5 pairs in the sacral region, 1 pair in the coccygeal region. Each spinal nerve has a dorsal root or sensory region, a ventral root or motor region, and the dorsal root has a ganglion, which is a collection of nerve cell bodies. Thus, each spinal nerve is a mixed nerve carrying both sensory and motor fibers. At the junction of the two roots, sensory fibers travel through the dorsal root and motor fibers pass through the ventral root. Both then merge into the grey matter of the spinal cord. Autonomic nervous system. The autonomic nervous system control involuntary actions of internal organs. It consists of two chains of nerves and ganglia running along each side of the spinal cord. It regulates vital body functions, body processes like heartbeat, digestion, breathing, and glandular activity. The ANS has two divisions: sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nerves arise from the spinal cord between the neck and the waist region. The parasympathetic nerves are found in two places, like anteriorly in the head and neck region and posteriorly in the sacral region. So the sympathetic nervous system is stimulated by adrenal, which is secreted by the adrenal gland on kidneys. Sympathetic nervous system prepares the body for violent action against abnormal conditions, and parasympathetic nervous system is more concerned with re-establishing normal conditions after violent act as over. So this is the table showing the effects of the two parts of autonomic nervous system, sympathetic system and parasympathetic system. This is the various components of the nervous system at a glance. Now, we should know emotions and autonomic nervous system. It explains how emotions influence the autonomic nervous systems. Emotions like grief, anger, fear, sexual stimulation strongly affect the autonomic nervous system. Prolonged emotional stress can lead to high blood pressure, stomach ulcers, and other disorders. So it is clear that emotions cause physiological change via involuntary nervous control. Reflexes, which are also known as involuntary action. The word reflex is explained as being derived from the Latin word refluxus, meaning reflected back. Reflex actions occur without conscious control. Types of actions in the body: two types of actions are explained. Voluntary actions are performed consciously. Examples include switching on a TV program you want to watch, picking up an apple and eating it, looking up at your wristwatch to know the time. These actions are performed with awareness and intent. Involuntary actions which are performed unknowingly, also called reflexes, these occur automatically in response to stimulus. Stimulus definition is: stimulus is any agent or environmental change that can initiate a response in the body. Types of stimuli include physical, touch, prick, pressure, etc. Chemical stimuli, radiant light. Thermal stimuli is the heat or cold. Electrical stimuli, etc. Reflex action is an autonomic, quick, immediate, involuntary action in the body brought about by a stimulus. Examples given: flashing of tears when a particle enters the eye, instantaneous withdrawal of hand after touching a hot iron, shivering when it's too cold, sweating when it's too hot, dilation of the pupil in darkness, and constriction in light. So this is the table showing the differences between reflexes and voluntary actions. This is the image showing the simple reflex of hand withdrawal, and this is the simplex reflex arc, the different components of the nerves. Diagrammatic sketch of the internal structure of the spinal cord and nervous pathway in spinal reflexes. The figure shows the spinal cord in cross section. This is the cross section of the spinal cord, and the reflex arc pathway. This is the pathway. It highlights both gray matter and white matter regions of the spinal cord. Dorsal root and ventral root are shown emerging from the spinal cord here. Dorsal root ganglia contains the cell body of the sensory neuron, and sensory neuron, association neuron or interneuron, and motor neuron pathways are clearly here marked. Reflex pathway: stimulus, that is the pin or prick or hot object, acts on the receptor on the skin. The receptor generates an impulse that travels by a sensory neuron or apparent neuron, and it enters the spinal cord through the dorsal root. It passes through an association or interneuron in the gray matter. Then the signal travels to a motor neuron via the ventral root. The effector organ or muscle receives the impulse, leading to a response such as withdrawal of the hand. This entire sequence represents a spinal reflex arc, a rapid automatic response mediated by the spinal cord without involving the brain. Types of reflex. Reflex can be divided into two main types: natural reflex, which do not require prior learning or experience, such as coughing, sneezing, peristalsis, swallowing, salivation, and this is inherited and present from birth. But the conditioned or acquired reflex developed through learning or experiences found when a neutral stimulus becomes associated with a response due to the repeated pairing with a natural stimulus, such as salivation at the site of sight or smell of food. This is a learned response. Definition of the conditioned reflex: it is an involuntary, spontaneous, automatic response brought about due to a previously learned experience. Pavlov's experiment on dog. It is cited as a classic example of a coordinated reflex. Ivan Pavlov, a Russian physiologist, discovered this concept. He found that a dog could be trained to salivate at the sound of a bell if the bell was consistently rung before presenting the food. Initially, no salivation occurred with the bell alone, but after repeated pairing of bell and food, the bell alone triggered salivation even in the absence of food. Thus, a neutral stimulus, that is bell, became associated with a physiological stimulus, that is salivation, demonstrating the conditioned reflex. These are common reflexes in human: natural or inborn reflex. This is the difference of the simple reflex or natural reflex and the conditioned reflex or acquired reflexes. Nervous pathway in reflexes, actions must be fast. These pathways are short, and simple reflex involve two neurons, sensory and motor, or three neurons, sensory, interneuron and motor, and it mentions dorsal and ventral root, gray matter of the spinal cord. Reflex arc explanation: the reflex arc can be described or defined as the shortest route that an impulse can take from a receptor to an effector organ. When stimulus comes, it comes in the receptor in the sense organ. Afferent sensory nerve fiber stimulates the CNS or spinal cord or brain. Efferent or motor nerve fiber, then it will go into the muscle to contract gland or to secrete. Components of the reflex are receptor, specialized epithelial cells that respond to stimulus and convert it into a impulse in a sensory neuron in the spinal cord that receives impulses and connects sensory to motor neurons. CNS or central nervous system comprises spinal cord or brain where sensory impulses generate outgoing motor impulses. Motor neuron carries impulses from CNS to the effector or organ or muscle gland that responds to the motor nerve impulse. Complex reflex action, it involves neuron at different spinal cord levels. Example given in the sudden withdrawal when stepping on a coiled rope and mistaking it for a snake. Most skeletal muscles are involved in such complex reflex action. So this is the summary of the chapter: functions of the nervous system, neuron, nerve, transmission of the nerve impulse, types of nerves, it can be sensory, motor or mixed, brain, cranial nerves, spinal cord, autonomic nervous system, types of reflexes. So to sum up, the nervous system helps your body stay coordinated and alert by receiving information, processing it in the brain and sending quick responses through nerves. The brain, spinal cord and nerves work together like a first communication network to help you think, feel, move and stay safe. A healthy nervous system is essential for an active and balanced life. Thank you so much for watching today's class. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more student friendly biology classes. Until next time, stay curious and keep learning. See you in the next class. Thank you.